Hello and welcome to Lists and Other Things That No One Asked For with Jesse Barbin, your weekly mini podcast with essays and lists about music, TV, books, and in general, the painful process of growing up. Thank you for tuning in. Philosophers are the worst. They're just so pretentious, and even worse than professional philosophers or any type of amateur philosophers. These are the people who think they're really deep thinkers, but really just get all their ideas from sketchy places on the internet. I had a coworker who always wanted to engage in the stupidest debates, such as, is a hot dog a sandwich? He would maintain the smug air of a community college adjunct philosophy professor and then question every response anyone gave until everyone became exhausted and office morale was ruined. The awful business could ruin entire lunch breaks, entire work days if people were dumb enough to engage with him. After a while, I refused to participate in his pseudo-intellectual debates, and it would make him angry, and he would ask me why I wouldn't engage in the discussion, and I would say, because it's dumb and I don't respect you, and he said, why not? And I said, because anytime I'm eating trail mix, you come around asking me, what's in the trail mix, where'd you buy the trail mix, until I offer you some trail mix. If you want a handful of salty nuts and raisins and M&Ms, just ask me directly like a grown-up. You're a man who mooches free trail mix in a passive-aggressive manner, and that's the worst type of man, and I do not respect you. My snack break is the only bright spot in my day, and you have ruined it. I'm getting off topic, but the point is, people who philosophize without the smarts to back it up are the what's wrong with the world today. But with that in mind, I'd like to engage in some amateur philosophy of my own. What is currently occupying a lot of space in my brain is, why can some people get so defensive about bands or music they like? I know you're not supposed to talk about religion or politics, but I'm always surprised when people get mad talking about music. I can see why politics can make people upset because it affects policies that affect people's lives in positive and negative ways. People being sensitive about religion is understandable because that's a deeply personal thing, but to get super upset because someone expresses dislike or ambivalence about some band or album, I think, to a certain extent, it's because fandom is the new religion. I'm not the first person to float that idea. As people lose faith in political and religious institutions, and times are tough for a lot of people, we're all looking for ways to make ourselves feel better. Once we find something that makes us feel better, music, movies, sports team, etc., we will defend it to the death. So I get it. I'm sorry I poked fun at Hawthorne Heights. I recognize now they got you through some tough times. One problem is music, or having good musical taste, is not a personality, no matter how hard one might try to make it their personality. I know firsthand. From age 14 until about age 29, music and bands were all I talked about. It was who I was. It was all I was. A typical conversation with me at that time would go like this. These are the bands I like. They're pretty good bands. What bands do you like? Oh, those are not good bands. You should listen to the bands I like. These are the bands I like. And repeat until you find a way to excuse yourself from the conversation. I'm not like that now, primarily because I don't have the time, and I like to think I've become a more well-rounded person. So I get that when someone perceives that something they love has not been treated with what they feel is the proper respect, they get mad. When people sincerely like a piece of music, art, film, television, literature, etc., I will never question their love. What does bother me is when it seems like a lot of people have the exact same opinion about something. For example, a lot of music criticism and music journalism is groupthink, where certain opinions become what is generally accepted as quote-unquote correct, and any others are wrong. A good example is Weezer's second album, Pinkerton, not well received by most critics when it came out, but later revered as a classic and a masterpiece. Pinkerton never changed, but the opinion of it miraculously did. This type of reevaluation happens all the time. Let me hit you with my in conclusion. In conclusion, life is too short to listen to or consume things you don't enjoy because you feel like you're supposed to. If I'm watching or reading or listening to something that I know is critically acclaimed, but it is boring and I hate myself while I'm doing it, I stop. If something feels like homework, I'm out. Conversely, if something sounds, looks, tastes, feels nice, enjoy it without shame or self-judgment. That's what I'm trying to do in 2024. Free my mind and be honest with myself. Here are some guilty pleasure type things that I shouldn't think of as guilty pleasures, that I should just think of them as things that I like. Number 1, the UCD bin trifecta. Spin Doctors, Pocket Full of Kryptonite, Hootie and the Blowfish's Cracked Rear View, and R.E.M's Monster. These were always plentiful at Hastings, and I will defend each of them to the death. These are all great albums, regardless of public opinion turning on them. Number 2, McDonald's. Yes, it is bad for you, and yes, it barely meets the legal definition of food, but I enjoy McDonald's every now and again. And the breakfast? I like sausage McMuffins better than I like most people. Remember when Super Size Me came out? The guy who eats McDonald's 3 meals a day for 30 days and then was like, hey, that was bad for me, and people were blown away? Get out of here. Number 3. And I'll end with this. Mountain Dew. This is the lowest brow of all the beverages, but they keep coming out with more flavors and more colors, and I don't have a lot of exciting things that happen in my life. I'm susceptible to silly marketing, and when I see a new strain of Mountain Dew at a gas station, I giggle with anticipation. I giggle, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Thank you for listening to Lists and Other Things That No One Asked For. I post a new episode every Monday. If you prefer reading, this is also available as a Substack. You can find me on social media at Jesse Barbin. See you next week.
The UCD...